coming to you raw with barely any makeup on and my natural hair to talk about postpartum hair loss because I am heavily pregnant and it's something that is it's weighing heavy on my mind, you guys. It was so bad for me last time that I almost considered not having a fourth baby, and then surprise, here we are. So I'm coming on here to talk about it because I think that it's important for people to know what it is, why it happens, and guys, why don't we talk about it enough? But before we get started, welcome to Get Wiggy with Bree. My name is Bree, and this is a topic that I think needs to be talked about, so stick with me today. If you learn anything today, if you're like, man, people need to see this, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, so we can get this out there because people need to know about postpartum hair loss. No one should be shocked like I was that it happened. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What is postpartum hair loss? So usually during pregnancy, you see all of these women who have like this luscious hair. You're like, wow, she just looks fruitful. And then bam, after you have your baby, about 3 to 4 months after, your hair starts falling out. Well, guys, why the heck does that happen? Postpartum hair loss is called telogen effluvium, and it's caused by hormonal changes. Usually happens about like 3 to 6 months after you have a baby. And I can get into the scientific background with you. So when you're pregnant, your estrogen goes up. And so what that happens is that your hairs enter the growing phase. So that means that it's preventing any shedding. You're holding on to all of that hair that you would typically be losing in your normal hair cycles. So your hair is appearing thicker. You might not be growing more hair, but you're not losing your usual amount of hair. Then birth happens, and then bam, that growing phase stops and you enter the resting phase. Well, people can be in the resting phase from like 3 to 6 months, whatever your normal hair cycle is. And then you enter that shedding phase. So during the shedding phase, you lose your hair that you held on to during pregnancy, as well as any of your normal hair loss that you lose every hair cycle. So that's why when you get to that 3 to 6 months phase, you see a lot of hair loss. And for a lot of people, it is really shocking. And the more I talk to people about this, I'm realizing that the worse that your trauma is, the worse that your birth is, how your postpartum is going, that really does affect the amount of hair that comes up. So those hormonal changes, the stress, the no sleeping, the lack of nutrition, all of those things are contributing to your hair loss. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story because I feel like it is very relatable to people who may not know that this is gonna happen to them. So when I had my first son back in 2018, I was growing all of this hair. I was like, wow, like this is awesome, this is amazing. And then he was breech and I had a C-section. So after that, it got to about, I would say 3 months after, and I started losing my hair. And I was like, man, this is kind of weird. And so I had a friend at the time who also had a baby right around the same time as me. And I said, hey, like, is this happening to you? And she's like, yes, girl, nobody told me. And so I was like, okay, it's fine. It'll get better as we go. And honestly, it did get a little bit better. I started looking into like supplements. I was taking biotin, all of that stuff. Well, then I got pregnant again. And then I was in school for my nurse practitioner degree. And I had all of these stressors and I got really sick with another C-section after my second one. Well, then my hair fell out again and it was even worse this time. And so now we've kind of entered this cyclic pattern of hair loss every 2 years after baby. And, then I had a third one. And guys, turns out when you have multiple kids and your body's under constant stress, you can end up getting kicked into an autoimmune condition. So if you are experiencing hair loss and you've had multiple pregnancies, I've been under a lot of stress, and your hair is still falling out, look into autoimmune conditions because it was something that I didn't even know was going to be a problem. I was like, I'm fine, I'm not stressed. And then bam, I now have Hashimoto's. Okay, but enough about me. So back to postpartum hair loss. When you look up things that you can do to kind of minimize your postpartum hair loss, it's things like control your nutrition, make sure you're choosing healthy choices, get sleep, be under less stress, all of these things, which in ideal world, of course we would love to be less stressed. We would love to eat better. We would love all of these things. But the reality is, if you're a new mom, you may or may not have support, undergoing a lot of hormonal changes. If you have other kids, then you have other kids to tend to also. And if you live in the United States, you might not get a full leave. Like some people only get 2 weeks and they have to go back to work. Some of us are lucky enough to get up to 12 or 14 if you can really afford it. But a lot of times people aren't afforded that leave that they need. So yes, of course they're stressed, and no, they may not be taking care of themselves the best they can. So if that's you and you're kind of in that, like, I would love to be taking care of myself, but I can't zone, You are not alone. Don't feel bad about that. And then I've been seeing all of these companies who are targeting women who have postpartum hair loss. And yes, if you are not getting your nutrition or vitamins and stuff from your food, are there things that you can be taking to give yourself the nutrition that your body needs to recover from having a baby? Of course there are, but supplements might not grow your hair back completely. And honestly, I've noticed a lot of women that after they have their kids, their hair just isn't 100% the same. And so if you fall into this category, again, you are not alone, because my hair has never been the same after I started having kids. So this is not to be hopeless. This is not to be like postpartum hair loss sucks and your hair is never gonna grow back, because that's just not true. There's a lot of women who their hair does grow back, and it might take up to a year, 15 months, even like 2 years until your hair is back to normal. But if you are somebody who it's a little bit slower, or you're like, gosh, why is my hair falling out faster than somebody else's? All of these can be contributing factor. And it's just something to keep in mind so you're not quite so hard on yourself. And some people might be like, Brie, this is a wig channel. Why are you talking about postpartum hair loss? And it's honestly because no one talks about it enough, you guys. I work in healthcare. I work in the NICU. I'm around postpartum moms all the time. And before I had my first son, I did not know a lot about postpartum hair loss. I didn't know it was a thing. No one told me it was going to happen. My OB didn't discuss it. My friends who had had kids didn't discuss it. And I don't really know why. I feel like postpartum is one of those times in your life where it's stressful enough. You're trying to figure out how to feed your baby, run on no sleep, manage your life outside of like your brand new baby. So going in eyes wide open and knowing that, yes, this might happen to me. Here are some things that I can do to try to, minimize that hair loss. And if for some reason it doesn't come back like it was 100% before, that's okay. And there are options for me outside of my usual hair. So I'm going to be experiencing postpartum hair loss pretty soon. Let me show you. Got this big belly here. He is coming in a little over a week. And I got to tell you, I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared about it because I don't really want to have this postpartum hair loss again. It stinks. And I did not think I was going to get emotional, but it was actually one of the reasons why I considered, okay, maybe we shouldn't have this baby, or shouldn't have this fourth baby, or when we were even considering about having more kids. And yes, he was a great surprise, but that doesn't mean that the emotional toll isn't there. Like, I know what's going to happen. I have wigs. I am ready for it. I have all these great alternatives, but it doesn't make it any less scary that I know that it's going to happen. That's why I'm out here talking about this, because I don't want anyone to feel as shocked as I was, to not be prepared. It's hard enough knowing that it's going to happen, but if you are in a bad place and then all of a sudden your hair starts falling out, sometimes postpartum you are so close to the edge of losing your mind. And I do not want postpartum hair loss to be something that really just like pushes somebody over, because it's not preventable. It's nothing that you did wrong. It's just something that happens to your body after you have a baby. So a little heavier than usual, a little more scientific than usual, a little more personal than usual. I did not expect to get emotional, but here we are. But I'd love to talk more about this. So if you experienced postpartum hair loss, or you were like me and you were like, I cannot believe that this is happening, nobody told me about it, let me know in the comments. I would love to have a dialogue about this, because I think that it's shocking that people don't talk more about it. But that is pretty much it for today. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to see you around here again. So thanks for watching.